everyone. I talk about globalization and English imperialism. This is my content and why I chose this topic. Because I really want to know about why people speak English, why people study English, or why selected in English all over the world. So I chose this topic. And how many people speaking English all over the world? The answer is 20 billion people in all over the world. And so the people divide is three types of English speakers. One is 3 million native speakers and 10 billion official language speakers and 7 million foreign language speakers. The Japanese people including foreign language speakers. And I talk about located English in Asia. The 3.5 million people speaking English in Asia. This is almost same Western English population, so it's so many people. And why English is important in Asia? Because the two reasons. One is domestic reason. They have original languages like Indonesian or some kind of language, so they cannot communicate each other. The second reason is international reasons. So our lifestyle is changing. So through globalization, so are winning competitive international business and need international cooperation. So we need English. So government and private sector promote to speak English. So our education is also changing. The before grammar, writing, reading based on education, but now we based on listening and speaking. So this is practical English. And for example, Japanese education also changing. The before reading ability and learning Western culture is the basic, but now the curriculum is also changed and the curriculum based on practical English. So also in business things they have based on practical English. People need to communicate by English, and also our lifestyle is changed, so increasing international trading through globalization. And business worker require trick score, and some company like Rakuten or Uniqlo designed English as official language. So I think this is related to globalization. So what is the globalization? So some people define the globalization, but this is so difficult and so long. So I pick up some keywords. One is developing new like World Conference or some network society. So expanding social relationship, and we also use network society like Twitter or Facebook, so we can connect with countries. So and help for not only government level but also individual level. For example, if happen to disaster, we can help for each other. And the very short definition of globalization. Globalization refers to the expansion and intensification of social relations and consciousness across the world, time, and workspace. So after globalization, the English is very important. I pick up political, economic, and education dimension. The one is United Nations is also speak English and French, but 19% of United Nations documents write in English. And also mass media, almost 70% use English, and 80% of computer rate is English. And the dimension of economic, we the English is success keyword in international business, like FTA, EPA, and we can see everywhere made in China. And education is also things I talked about before, and the elementary school also studied English education. So, English is success keyword improve better life for their lives. People focus on English since it was globalization. So I think English have very strong power, but the situation is opposite to promoting English imperialism. So what is the imperialism? The Bridgson said English imperialism is like culture imperialism. So culture imperialism may happen to culture inequality between English and other languages. And Mr. Tsuga said English imperialism is a serious problem because the communication skill must be human fundamental equality. But the English imperialism to lead to language discrimination, so expanding communication gap and strengthening many other languages. And this is my experience in Korea. When I went to Korea, I have to speak English because ceremony, information, announcement, and community almost all English. So English is kind of communication too. So I think that I feel English has strong power. For example, I learn Korean, but the teacher explained by English because this is my classmate is Italian, Hong Kong, United States, French, or something, some other nationality, but just English, we can connect it us. So finally, my conclusion, English is particularly evidence in changing politics, economic, and education through globalization, and necessary to build common languages connected other nations to globalization. So we need to recognize about English as a tool beyond culture and countries. Thank you for listening.
The topic of my graduation project is an English textbook for understanding cultures to expand the images of Africa in junior high schools in Japan. Okay. So first, let me talk about why I chose this topic. Because I have two reasons. First reason is I have an experience of homestay in Kenya. On last summer vacation and winter vacation, I went to Kenya and I stayed in Samburu Prefecture for homestay. And then I was very impressed with Samburu cultures and especially people. So after coming back to Japan, I really wanted to explain about the Samburu cultures to Japanese people. And second reason is my experience of teaching practice. I'm also interested in English education in Japan. So I took teaching course at Osaka Jogakuin. And last year, I went to junior high school for teaching practice training. And I found that the current English textbook, the textbook which my students used, did not show any about African cultures. So I decided to develop an English textbook as graduation project. This is my brief outline. And first, I talk about current situation. What kind of information about Africa are in Japan. And then I would like to talk about what should teachers do for expanding the images of Africa in junior high schools. And then as conclusion, I would like to talk about my English textbook for understanding cultures. So everyone, I want to give some question. If you hear this word Africa, what do you imagine? Do you imagine some animals like wild animals, lion, or you image very beautiful nature, or you image some people who decorate their bodies by very colorful beads, or you image a big family like one husband, 2 wives, and many children. So your images about Africa are positive or negative. So in order to research about information about African cultures or Africa, I researched at Osaka Jogakuin Library. And the books about Asian history and also European history are enough in the library. But on the other hand, the books about African history in Kenya are not enough in the Osaka Jogakuin Library. And also, I picked up one English textbook. This is called New Crown, this textbook. And in this textbook, the Series 1 textbook means a textbook for first grade students. The textbook does not show 4 countries, Australia, the United States, China, and India are shown in this textbook. But cultures about these countries are not shown in this textbook. And in Series 2 textbook means textbook for second grade students. The 14 countries are shown in this textbook. And just only one country, India, is shown in this textbook to explain Indian cultures. And in Series 3 textbook, the textbook for third grade students, the 21 countries are shown in this textbook. But cultures about these countries are not shown in this textbook. And just only one African country, Malawi, is shown in this textbook. But the topic is about Malawi. It's not about culture. This is about poverty. So it's a kind of very negative ideas. So as a result, I found that there are not enough information about Africa, African countries. And also the current English textbook do not have enough information about African countries, African cultures. And also, these information in English textbook are very biased information. Malawi is shown in this textbook, but if the students learn about culture through this textbook, the student will have some stereotype about African countries. They will think that Malawi is a poverty, so maybe they will think that African countries are like poor or poverty. So not only this information about Africa, but also some information about culture should be included in English textbook. So in order to expand the images of Africa, the teachers should do 2 things. The teachers should develop an original English textbook for introducing cultures. According to the period of integrative study, this is called 総合的な学習の時間 in Japanese. This study recommends that students will learn about other countries, learn about cultures about other countries. And the second one is using experience to develop an English textbook is very beneficial because the experience which teachers have means a kind of true real story, so that when the students learn about other cultures, it's easy for them to be interested to focus on new cultures. So using experience is important to develop an English textbook. So I actually developed an English textbook. In my textbook, the sample cultures are shown, and through using my textbook, the students can learn and try to understand sample cultures. And also, they can exchange ideas with classmates. And 3 points are included in my textbook. As I told you, putting experience is important. And I also use the pictures, many pictures in my textbook. I put some examples like this. I put many pictures in my textbook because the pictures help students to image the cultures of of Samburu. So that's why I put many pictures. And also, the third point is very important in my textbook. So putting some discussion questions is very important because if the textbook have the discussion question, the students have some opportunity to exchange their ideas. So in order to understand other cultures, communicating with other people and exchanging their ideas with other people is very, very important in order to avoid conflict between people. So in order to expand the images of Africa, the English textbook should be developed with experience and many pictures and also discussion questions. Okay, thank you for your good, kind attention.
My graduation project is importance of mental treatment after conflict and disaster. Before I start this topic, I want to talk about main mental disorder. Main mental disorder is anxiety disorder. Anxiety disorder is separated into 3 parts: adjustment disorder, acute stress disorder, and post-traumatic stress disorder. It's PTSD. These disorders are related to all stress and serious happenings. So these disorders are regarded to mental disorders. I want to talk about the topic on basis of these disorders. I found the important things why mental treatment is important. Today, I talk about grief, PTSD, depression, and physical reactions. First, I talk about grief. Grief is mental symptom in adjustment disorder. Symptom means 症状, and grief is feelings like sadness, anger, regret, and missing the dead people. Those feelings are healthy responses. In other words, grief is natural feelings. There are responses of grief. Like this, sufferer is affected by memories of past, and they avoid usual activities. Grief is healthy responses, but it means it is possible for every sufferer to feel grief and to avoid usual activities. Therefore, mental treatment shall be needed to reduce grief and to conduct positive action. Next, I talk about PTSD. PTSD patients remember the trauma experience when they see similar experience. So, for example, reminder are sounds of wind, rain, or helicopters. Other characteristic of PTSD is trauma effect during long term. This figure shows the relation of stress symptom and passage of time. PTSD is not seen in the symptom just after disaster and accident, but in the symptom comes out after several days or several months later. And cannot recover PTSD as soon as. Sufferer remembers trauma experience in daily life and is affected during long term. If they cannot take the mental treatment, they will have to remember experience during long term. So sufferer needs mental treatment. Next, I talk about desperation. Desperation is 自傷行為. PTSD patient may feel guilty for survival and wish to see the dead person. In other words, they want to punish himself or herself and want to die because they wish to see the dead person. These feelings make PTSD patients or act desperation or risky action. In case of teens, they may act these things, especially drug and alcohol make guilt more and more. They experience a disaster or accident, they may feel guilty for survival. They think accident, they feel guilt more and remember and panic of accident. They use drug or alcohol to control feelings or panic feelings. But they feel guilty for using drug and alcohol, so they feel guilt more and panic and using again. Like this cycle, if they use drug or alcohol, they are disappointed himself and herself about using it. So mental treatment is important to secure sufferer from desperation and risky action. Finally, I talk about physical reaction. Mental disorder affects not only body or not only heart but also body. If you feel the excessive stress, you may have a stomach ache. Like this stomach ache, mental stress affects your body. This reaction is called physical reaction. After disaster or conflict, sufferers feel grief, shock, or guilty. This feeling is called headache, dizziness, hyperventilation. In case of Afghanistan women, they feel grief or strong dread. So they have a physical reaction like headache or loss of appetite. If grief or stress is not taken by appropriate measures, it causes physical reaction, and the sufferers anguish both mental and physical. In conclusion, mental disorder and stress affect not only feelings but physical condition. In addition, stress and accident makes sufferer act desperation or risky action. These effects may be obstacle to positive action of sufferer. For recover mental and physical health of sufferer, mental treatment is important. Thank you for listening.
The title of my dissertation is Slave Trade, Free Trade and Fair Trade, exploring the challenges of the British fair trade to the domestic market. So the purpose of this research, before I'm going to talk about this slide, I want to ask you a question. I studied international relations and politics at the University of Leeds. And while I stayed there, I bought fair trade label chocolates in England. I wanted to think where I bought it. So, I saw more fair trade labeled products in the UK than in Japan at supermarkets. So the answer is I bought it at a supermarket in England. Also, I wanted to know more about fair trade in the UK, so I assisted one event organised by Leeds Fair Trade Steering Group as a volunteer cameraman. And at the end of my study abroad, I organised the Fair Trade and Vintage Fashion Show 2011 at the University of Leeds, which succeeded. So I although I knew some of fair trade in the UK, I wanted to investigate fair trade in the UK more in depth. So, research methods utilize books, online resources, such as the annual report of the British Fair Trade Foundation in 2010 and 11, market price research regarding non-fair trade and fair trade coffee and tea in Leeds and York. Both cities are fair trade cities. A questionnaire it was targeted to University of Leeds students, and also the University of Leeds the University of Leeds is a fair trade university in England. And I did an interview to staff member who was involved in fair trade movement within the university. So outline as follows. So as for slave trade and free trade, before fair trade movement started, slave trade and free trade occurred, and as a consequence of slave trade, 1.3 million African people were transported to Europe by 1700, and another 6 million crossed the Atlantic in the 19th century. And free trade tend to be considered slave trade and free trade opposite trade system, but it's not an exaggeration to say that the principle of both trading systems are the same. According to Food Organization, Food Agriculture Organization data in 2010, coffee prices dropped from 322 cents in the 1970s to 49 cents in 2003. Therefore, workers in developing countries are still not given fair wages. There is a lot of discrimination as well. So, how fair trade started? Fair trade was started by ethical groups, religious groups, and NGOs as well. And so, through these movements, fair trade shops and organizations were founded, and which include the British Fair Trade Foundation as well. And according to, by analyzing the annual report, 65% of British people understand fair trade, and 74% of British people are aware of fair trade as well. And through my questionnaire, 92.7% recognize the fair trade level, as you can see on the screen, and 95.1% people agree to support the fair trade. And before answering my questionnaire, 92.7% of British students had bought fair trade products such as fair trade tea, coffee, banana, and chocolates, and so on. So, fair trade in business. I found out there was increases in the fair trade sales, increases in fair trade events and fair trade support as well, and supermarket embrace more fair trade products. For example, the cooperative supermarket in England declared that they want to change their primary commodities into 100% fair trade by 2013, and fair trade products are not too expensive, as I did a market price research, such as coffee and tea. So this time I want to show the tea price research graph. So as you can see on the screen, they are not, I could say that fair trade teas are not necessarily expensive. And there are some criticism, but today I'm going to pick up one criticism, that is, this is license fees. For example, total initial certification fee for the first 12 months is €1,530. And since the Fair Trade Foundation's main branch is located in Germany, the currency is euro. So some people say that these license fees, as for the license fee, Fair Trade Foundation could exploit the labor in developing countries. However, according to Watanabe, who is a professor at the Tokyo University, the Fair Trade Labor Organization support the minimum wage of the fair trade workers who sometimes receive 3 times more than their normal wage, along with fair trade premium, which means to guarantee basic human rights. As for fair trade premiums, the fair trade organization supports education and building schools, and these kind of support they are doing. So to conclude my thesis, free trade still has exploited labor in developing countries that inherited that system from slave trade periods. Secondly, fair trade share is expanding in the British market associated with fair trade supporters, ethical groups, and international enterprises. Thirdly, fair trade products are not necessarily expensive, according to my market price research. And fair trade in the UK is succeeding, although there are some criticisms which fair trade organizations and ethical people have to tackle with. Thank you very much.
Diversity management and the power of women. Recently, companies have to take advantage of diversity to survive in the world market. In order to win and survive in such competitive environment, companies need to recruit people with various ideas who have different backgrounds, cultures, and races and genders. So, however, many companies still hold on to outdated stereotypes of job for women and men. So I would like to tell you about diversity management and especially the necessity of women's working power. This is a brief outline of my presentation. Currently, however, it's getting easier to participate in the Japanese society for women. According to the Ministry of Health, Labor, Welfare, the number of female employees totaled about 25 million, an increase of 10,000 from the previous year. On the other hand, the number of male employees totaled about 35 million, and a decline of 30,000 from the year before. So we support that Japanese society will need more women's working power. So how about the percentage of Japanese female management positions? As the figure suggests, it's not unusual in business to have a low percentage of women's management positions in Japan. This is rare in our society. So Japan still has stereotypes. So how about the percentage of female management positions in other countries? I would like to compare Japan with Sweden, America, Korea. Please pay attention to this table. This table is about the percentage of women's management positions, including politicians and officers in 2008. As you can see, Japan has a very low percentage of the management positions compared to Sweden and America. Also, Korean society divides labor by gender role as well as Japanese society. So what does Japan have problems? One of the problems is role model. So why people need a role model in firms? Because by having role models at the same department or company, employees can share some knowledge of how to work and share responsibility for the household chores. And another problem is a lot of female non-regular workers in Japan. Please look at this table. This table shows that there are about the nearly same the number of male regular workers as the number of female non-regular workers. So how should companies control human resources? There is a diversity management. The management drew attention in US in 19th. The management has a lot of definitions. For example, the idea is to make use of the best of all employees' capabilities, including women, minority, white male. For Japan, people must consider how should take advantage of women's working power. I mean, gender diversity is very important for our society. So what is gender diversity? Is company and society need to change view of women from the presence of bringing up a family to the presence of participating in the society. So why need the power of women to survive in the world market? Because about 64% of world domestic consumption are women. Customers, because of this, it is important to take part in the market toward women. Customers' needs become diversified because of globalization. So why do women and different nationality become competitive? Firstly, human capital. In order to sustain or gain competitive advantage in the world market, company has to acquire excellent diversified human resources. If there are different backgrounds and races and culture and genders, we have different ways of thinking, barriers, and way of looking at things. So these differences will be one of the strategies. And marketing, so company can respond a lot of customers' needs in the world by making part of management strategies with different backgrounds, cultures, and races and genders. So company can be satisfied with various customers' needs and competitive advantage in the world market. On the other hand, negative impact from lack of diversity management. Firstly, cost. When a company introduces diversity management, it will be expensive to carry out diversity training. And conflict. Companies should pay more attention to carry out diversity management. If they don't seriously care about it, firms will get a lot of conflict in the firm between employees. In firms, not only work is individual, but also work is team. So let's take a look at the example of Nissan Motor Company Limited. Nissan has a lot of programs to think about diversity and career. For example, they are counseling with career advisors and a seminar to think about career and sharing some information on the internet. So in conclusion, from approaches of Nissan for diversity, Japanese society can what they lack and point they should improve. In firms, I think it is important for companies to find a diversity training and management that will suit their needs. Nissan is one of the large companies in Japan, so they have a lot of money to carry out the diversity management and training. But small and medium-sized enterprise probably cannot spend a lot of money to carry out the training and management. So it is important to create a new job style for each company. And in educational scene, I think it is important for students in high school and university to consider their career plan in their future. I suppose that almost all students consider their career plan and career design since they start to look for a job. So by realizing earlier the necessity of women's working power, women do not think that they resign from a job even if they get a molly or give birth. Thank you for your kind attention. I would like to close my presentation. Thank you.